Welcome to the EMP. The Eligible Monster Podcast. That's the show right here where me, Dan, and Natalie sit down and discuss some interesting things that we want to talk about in the gaming landscape. A few things have come up recently that we are going to talk about. We got a couple things. First off, why Dan is bad to play games with, because he started this discussion.
Why Benny is annoying to play games with.
Why you're not. We'll have that discussion in a minute. Then we're going to discuss the current state of MMOs and why most of us are disliking them.
Yes.
And then we're going to probably talk about maybe some ideas for Elder Scrolls 6 or something, depending how long the show is going. I know Gary's literally sitting around near us, itching and waiting to talk about Elder Scrolls. We'll see how long everything else takes, because today's show is brought to you by Natalie. Say hi.
Hi. It's brought to you by me. Yes.
Thanks for
Indeed.
bringing it, Natalie.
Thank you. No, of course. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
And if you're ever wondering why the show is amazing as it is, and as awesome as it is, and has the greatest nipples ever, that's thanks to Dan T. Rumble's nipple editing. He edits out all the nipples of all the stuff that he can find.
Wait, he's on Mangastorian? Really? Are you editing Mangastorian videos? The nipples out? No? Okay.
So that joke actually comes out of, there was a period where we were doing Monster Musume on our Mangastorian channel, which is a show that shows a lot of nipples. And in order to make it fly by YouTube standards, our other editor, Houston, had a job of editing out nipples per week.
That was his job.
Censored nipples
That
all
was
week.
his job.
And
the
it's,
best job.
It was like
became-
for three months, he was editing nipples.
Yeah. And somehow I became nipple-centric when we did stuff at the comic book store, which was very cold. In my defense.
It's a very cold
cold
store.
Hey, you know what? I will say this. At least everyone comments on your nipples and not Natalie's. That would be awkward.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
Well, I mean, I know how to hide them well, so.
I try. I need to get like those
I'm
little nipple
European.
pasties.
I'm European.
Oh
Dan,
my
and
God.
actually, you should
I
as
would
well.
laugh so hard if you show up and we walk out into the green room and you're just like lifting your shirt up, putting on like flour pasties to cover hard nipples.
I can probably get you some if you want. Or, you can just start wearing like 2 layers or something like Europeans do.
I'll come in with a parka.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Oh.
Dan, it's 90 degrees out. I know, but my nipples were showing.
So first topic. If you were listening to our discussion, Dan decided to call me out for not inviting him into our secondary Divinity 2 game after our first game fell apart. Now, first off, Dan, I didn't put together the team in this one. That was all Sean and Frank, and they asked me to do it, and I suggested Natalie because no offense, she's got better nipples than you, so I'm going to invite her along.
I would not be
Not even
you
like
inviting Natalie over me. I am. If that,
Do not
if anything,
even
if you
say-
try to invite me over her, I
Do
would have
not-
started questioning
please,
your morals.
Please, Dan, do not say it's because I'm his wife. Please. Dan?
It's because she's your significant other.
No, my God. Wow. Not
She's
because
really
I'm
good
good
at
at
the game, but
games
that's
or
besides
anything.
the point.
But
She
no,
is my
it's
wife.
cool. It's cool just because I'm his wife.
No,
so I have to
that,
tag
I
along.
mean that does factor into it.
Yeah. You're also not bad at the game. If you were, I would have said,
Dan.
hey, I invited Dan or Houston, probably Houston because he knows how to play that game.
Fuck off.
So here's what happened if you
Unbelievable.
were listening to the discussion, okay? Dan said Dan's version of the story.
No,
is
let me
Okay,
give my
go,
version of
go.
the story. So basically, when
yours is
Divinity
wrong,
2
so I'll
came
go
out,
second.
so Divinity 2 came out, and we all started to play it. We put it on the casual mode.
Mm-hmm.
We were all playing through the casual mode. All of us were saying to each other, okay, we're going to play this on casual so we can each do what we want. That was why we picked casual over normal, hard, any of the other difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
So as we went through, I was putting my skill points into some stuff, and then I also wanted to be able to summon a creature, which was something I simply wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I got the summoning skill, and I got one extra skill to help buff up my summon creature.
Right.
This gave us basically an extra character during the gameplay, and that allowed us to... Benny's talking, which is distracting me.
I know. Just ignore it.
It basically gave us another person so that when we did our fights on casual mode, on the game we were playing for the very first time, it gave us an extra person in combat to take damage, to deal damage, all of that good stuff. We were having a fun time. I was enjoying myself. We were all enjoying ourselves when we were on that main island. None of us knew what was going to come after that main island. Somehow,
Act 1, for the record, inferred to main island, it's Act 1 of the game.
Yes.
Act 2 is when you break off the island.
exactly. This was our very first time playing the game, and we were playing on casual so we could play it in the way we wanted, because this was a game we were unsure whether or not we were all going to enjoy. I was playing a build that I was enjoying. I was playing it. We were all having a great time. We were enjoying it. We were talking here. We played it all in the office. We were having nice conversations with each other. It was really fun. We got out of Act 1 and we got to Act 2. None of us knew what we were doing, and somehow the difficulty had scaled up immensely. That was the point where Benny started looking into the whole min-maxing to make sure that we were all doing very specific builds that were along the lines of certain abilities. However, there were not any specific builds that really fit a style that I would have enjoyed. So I wanted to play in the way that I wanted. Benny was yelling at me because I wasn't conforming to the group in a game that we started up in casual mode, saying to each other, we're going to play this in a way that we all enjoy. If we had reset and said, okay, now we're going to play in a normal mode and we're all going to build in certain ways, it would have been a different story. But playing in a casual mode that we're all just playing as what we want, I felt like I had the right to play as my archer that had a few summoning abilities. I felt that was an appropriate thing for a game that we were playing to enjoy ourselves, to just kind of role play and have fun. And I started to lose that fun when I started getting yelled at because I was not conforming to specific builds that were the ones that were kind of left over because other people had picked other ones before, and somehow I was the one that had to change. If we had started over and we had done it in that manner, that would have been a different story. Like I said, that would have been I was aware of what was going to happen. But you can't say we're starting this up on the easiest mode. We're all going to play what we want to enjoy the game, and then we go do that. Because honestly, one of the biggest troubles that we had was nothing to do with my build. It was to do with the fact that all of us went off in different directions and did different things. The majority of the time, my build did not remove from anything. A lot of the time, it actually saved us by my summoned minion dying instead of one of the main characters, and we were going through. But I was being blamed because we were dying in certain spots where we only had 2 people because 2 other people were wandering off doing something else. And it was somehow decided that it was my build that caused that, not the fact that everyone was doing what they wanted in a game that we said we're going to do what we want so that we can enjoy it. If we were all together all the time as we played, it would have been a different story. If we had started it up with these are preset builds, everyone look into what they want,
You've
and
said
we'll
that a
pick
few
it from
times.
them.
Is
I
your
know.
goal to filibuster so that I can
Yes,
I just run Parks and Rec
exactly.
so I don't get a turd?
Exactly.
You said multiple times
I'm
that we have
using up
preset
your
build.
time. I want to make sure that I am clarifying.
On a podcast, or people are just going to get bored because you've said the exact same thing 3 times now. So here's what really happened.
Also, I'd like to clarify that I was not told that I could not set my teammates on fire. So I'm very...
Okay, that was hilarious. That I will
Natalie
say.
went pyromancer
Then I
and
had
lit
to
everyone on
change
fire
that.
multiple
So
times trying
I'm
to learn how to use
extremely
it. It was
upset
funny.
too. I feel like this is why the group kind of just fell apart because I could not set my teammates on fire, and I was not okay with that. All right, I was not okay with that.
Like that was a fact. Like that was something that we were all just enjoying, though. Like even though you were lighting us on fire and we died and like we had a full wipe and we had to go back to a reset point,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were all having
Multiple
so
times.
much
She
fun
consistently
doing
It
it.
was a
over and
great
over
time.
blew us up, and
It
it
was
She
a
would
great
hilarious.
time.
throw oil on the enemy, and we were standing in the area,
was-
and she would go
It was
fireball.
50. Listen, it was 50-50, either an oil barrel or water barrel. We didn't know. We didn't know. It could
I
have
didn't know what it was going to be.
It could have gone either way, guys. All right.
Okay, so here's
Okay.
what really happened.
No, this is your version of the
Oh
story.
gosh.
So there is no casual mode at all. There's the lowest difficulty, which is the default difficulty.
Okay, but did we not do that so that we could
wait,
play
wait,
as we
hold on.
wanted? Okay.
We got to Act 1, and the agreement was everyone could kind of do whatever they wanted. Dan was not a ranger, he was our cleric, because if you know Dan defaults healer on everything, and then figures out later if he wants to do something. Cleric is the only true healing class.
Actually, if anything, that actually helps my point because
Right.
they're both magic
What,
based.
did I interrupt you, Dan? Did I interrupt you?
Actually, you always do.
I let
so-
you go for 10 minutes about how
It was
if
a
we
good
had
10
done this.
A good 10 minutes. Okay, I still consider lowest difficulty to be casual mode.
Anyway, but there was
I
no
think that's
official
a safe get.
casual mode. Now, when we started the game, we all had it in our heads that we could kind of build out how we wanted, and we all kind of did that. We all did. I had a thief that could like warp around and hit people, and I was also like a vampire, and you were a cleric who wanted to also have summoning abilities. That was the two key things you wanted. But the issue we ran into is you started grabbing from every skill pool, which wasn't a terrible idea. No interrupting. No interrupting. I did not interrupt you. I let you state your case. You can't see his face right now, guys, but he so wants to jump in. So anyway, everything went mostly okay. We had a few situations where we didn't get enough healing, but it was easily like fixable. It wasn't a problem to where we had an issue. Act 2 started, and he's right, we all moved off in different directions, which we learned very quickly you don't want to do. So we all came back. So initially the issue was everyone went in different directions. We couldn't solo, we couldn't duo. We had the game scaled at 4 people, and we weren't doing it. We went off in the different directions, then we came back together and tried to fight. And we repeatedly were not able to damage the enemies. We were repeatedly not getting killed relatively fast. And so we looked it up on the Reddits and things like that. Houston and I, wasn't just me, and we figured out that while you can pick everything, you should pick a class if you're going to progress because the game does scale ridiculously. It goes to the point where it's super fun and simple on the tutorial island. But then it turns into something a lot more when you get to the larger area.
Which had no direction.
Huh?
We had no idea what we were doing.
And that's the fun part about Divinity. But we all then sat down, and basically Houston and I said we're not going to progress. We all have to fall into some kind of a class. And that's where the arguments that Dan started, because Dan really wanted his summoning. And we couldn't find a preset build that would work with summoning that would make it work on a reasonable level.
May I say something?
What?
This was something that you and Houston decided.
Well, no, I'm not arguing
We didn't
that.
look for roundabout ways to try and make things
with
that
you and
worked.
Natalie, because Natalie at the moment I think had like everything in one just straight fire chain, so she could just continually blow everything up,
Absolutely.
Including her teammates.
including her teammates.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I, Dan?
Trust me,
You
I
guys
kind
are all
of wish I
around
was
the
the fire
enemies.
build right
how,
now.
how do you suggest I only target the one enemy or like that's literally in the middle of you guys? I have to blow the entire area up, all right?
A lot of those
only
ones
makes-
would actually start with Natalie going, Dan, get ready. I'm about to blow up the team. I'd be like, okay, I got my AoE.
true.
Let's do it.
It's
But
so
the issue
true.
we ran into was we weren't going to progress. So it was either we've had our fun, we got to mess around,
I did have fun.
or we fall into a class. And we all fell into classes.
Yes. Then you got rid of my fireballs and I was very upset.
No, but you chose to do that because you got tired of blowing us up.
Well, eventually it
if
got
I remember
annoying.
correctly,
Yes.
and Dan can vouch or disagree with me on that. Her exact reasoning for going off a fire was, I can't use it freely without killing you all, so I'm going to pick something else.
true.
Yes, that was very much what it was.
I got, yeah. I'm not going
I
to deny
can't do it without killing you all.
And I do want to say, my logic behind having the minion was for the sake of we were not dealing enough damage, but it was providing a good amount of damage.
Well, it was, and we all had bad builds, and then we all fixed that. And my thief was doing crazy. I forget what he was. Wasn't he like a knight or something like that?
Probably.
Something that charged forward. Either way, we all picked a preset build. We started working. It was less fun for Dan, and he stopped playing.
But we all stopped playing. It wasn't just him,
Now,
honestly.
I wanna-
Well, to be fair, yeah, like Natalie just said, we all kind of stopped playing because the first act was really fun because it did kind of direct you in some sense. You felt like you were actually doing something. But I felt like after that, it was one of those games, kind of like Black Desert when we first played, where it was like, you're on a road. You can turn right and there are level 3 enemies. Or you can turn left and they're 372. And you're like, what the hell's going on here?
No, you're right. Sometimes linearity is really good when you get like that. That's actually a lot of people's issues with Elder Scrolls Online, giving us a great segue into our MMO discussion.
Yes.
Segue.
Nice, very nice.
But I do want to say this before ending. You were not invited because they invited me, and of course, my first pick to go into Divinity is going to be Natalie.
Okay. In my defense on that one, I didn't know that was the situation.
No, I
thought
know.
it was you building the team, and
no.
you were saying it on Discord while I was right there of, yeah, who else should we get for the team? And like in that scenario, I would have gone through and
did
I would have
that?
been like, if we're starting a new game, I'll pick a designated
Yeah,
build.
I mean, you and I talked about doing it. We can still do our duo team. If you want, I have no problems doing that. Frank, one of our friends on gaming, our gaming community, discovered he has the game and never tried it. So he asked our buddy Sean to join him. Some of you guys made it home from the Twitch stream, Sheen. And
No,
the
it's
two
Sean.
of them asked me,
Sean
like,
the
hey, do
writer.
you have
Damn it.
Divinity? And I was like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And they're like, well, who would you want to get as our fourth? And I brought up Natalie.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. So.
Why, obviously, Dan? Again.
I think everyone would know why.
But
Oh,
before we
man.
move over to the Elder Scrolls Online,
I'm a
and
great
discuss
gamer. I
the
know. Thank
issue
you.
I
with-
will,
you, Dan.
I will say I will agree with your point of view, but I think I had a legitimate argument as well.
Oh, I didn't argue against you. We
I
just
think
stopped
all
playing.
of us did.
Yeah.
But my problem with it was it then turned into Dan ruined it.
No.
And that's what kind of bothered me because every discussion we would get to would always go, but Dan wanted his summoning abilities.
Now, what I want
we
to say
wanted
is
to do this, but Dan wanted his summoning
You're
abilities.
going to love this, though. You're going to love this. So I got stuck as our healer because Natalie wanted to be our healer, but a skeleton, and so she can't stand in her own heels.
Indeed. I just
Funny quick side story about that. When I was first starting out playing World of Warcraft, I created an undead priest and I used Power Word Shield on myself and it said weakened soul. And I was like, crap, that must be because I'm undead. So I went to human and I got to that point and it was like, same thing. I'm like, oh crap, I could have just kept going. Well, I guess I'll stick here.
Yeah, well, so it was funny because 3 times last night, she'd be like, I want to be our enchanter.
Hey. In my defense, it was very late, all right? And I was tired.
3 times. This is hilarious. She gets onto the character creator last night in Divinity, right? And she's like, hey, I'm going to make an undead this time. And she decided to be an undead guy because they look cooler. So,
It did because,
but she's like, I'm going to make an undead. And we're like, cool. And she goes, and I'll be our healer. I'll be enchanting. And I looked at the skills and I'm like, Natalie, if you get anywhere near your own heals, you're going to kill yourself. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. I'll pick another build. And she picked another build. And it was like 5 minutes go by and she's like, but I think I'm going to be an enchanter. And I'm like, Natalie, that's the one that comes with the heal abilities. She goes, okay, so I'll do that. And then I look at the character screen and she's still a skeleton. And I'm like, Natalie, you still can't do that. You're still a skeleton. You got to be like another race if you want to be the enchanter.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, right. And like, I mean, for the record, Divinity, you can do whatever you want. And she could have done it, but it just would have made things a lot
I just
harder.
wanted to be
Yeah.
a skeleton to pick locks with my fingers. I thought it was awesome.
That
It was
is pretty
awesome, man.
cool.
Yeah.
But
no,
anyway,
that's
so
pretty
I
cool.
got stuck being our enchanter and I looked up and the number 1 build,
Let me guess. Healer with summoning abilities?
enchanter summoner. You were cleric though, because I remember that was the issue. Trying to find a cleric that would work with the summoning.
I'm waving my hands in a look at what's going on.
So I'm going to be our enchanter with summoning abilities.
Oh my God. Why would you say that, Ben?
Because it's funny that he just said the wrong. There's 2 healers in the game, apparently.
Okay, well then I'm now going to blame you and Houston for not doing your actual research to go, hey Dan, we noticed you like this. Here's a version that will work.
No, of course not. That's
Hey,
not how
but
it works,
so
So
Dan.
games like that, and
sometimes.
what happened to us at Act 2 is an issue that actually is our buddy Sean's dealing with in ESO right now. And I know both of us had that issue for many, many years before we got really into it. If there's too much in front of you, at first you're like, yes, this is incredible. I can do everything. But there's another party that's like, but what do I do?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you like I said, when we got to that town, there was nothing that implied, well, this is where you want to go for the main stuff. It was just, here's a town. And you're like, okay, well, let's adventure over here. Oh, it's a troll at a bridge that just one-shot everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not the
remember
direction.
that. I
Like,
remember
let's
that.
go in this direction. Oh, it's a rose that we stepped near and it poisoned everyone and they all
Yeah.
die. And it
Yeah.
was just, that
Well,
was
see,
my
if you were
problem is
undead,
you
Dan,
can't go from you would survive.
You would
get
survive,
healed.
yes.
See, I felt like that's one of those games, and this is actually a problem with a lot of games, where it starts off and it's like, we're going to direct you. And then out of nowhere, it just goes, you're on your own.
Yeah.
That's
Whereas it
literally-
needs to ease you into that
Yeah.
of like, we're directing you. Now we're directing you, but here's some split offs you can
Mm-hmm.
do. Now here's some more. Okay, now you're on your own.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one. I think that's a problem with a lot of games. Like
Mm-hmm.
they too many games want to have that open world element, like go do whatever you want, forge your own destiny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Elder Scrolls Online is great, but the problem I run into with that game. So for the discussion of the MMO is our discussion of whether we like or dislike the current state of MMOs.
Before we start that, anyone who reached this far, I apologize for my very long rant at the beginning. I got very defensive. Anyway, continue about MMOs.
I just found it funny. Because you were like going full filibuster mode. You were.
Oh,
parsing
I
rec
definitely
all over.
was. I definitely was. Because I knew
gotta
you
give
were
you
going to
props,
say
though.
stuff that was...
10 minutes of just like nonstop points after point after point, and just,
I
on
just
top of
didn't
your
like
head
the fact
this.
that whether or not you did it, I felt like I was being blamed for why the game was no longer
Your build
fun.
was the hardest because the rest of us, like the reason why you got pinpointed on that discussion when me and Houston were looking at things is, yes, we all had like skills in the wrong spots, but me, Houston, and Natalie had all kind of leaned towards something. which made it super easy to go, well, now I'm a thief with necromancer abilities because that's kind of where I was going.
I know that's what was going on. I'm just saying that
But when we got to
I got
it's
very
like,
defensive because
well, because the
I got
issue we ran
blamed
into
for
is when you
everything.
got online and we're all going to pick a pseudo class, and you were like, I got cleric, and I think you had aerotherm or whatever, and the hydro one, and you had the summoning, and then you were like, and I got some scoundrel, and it's like, why did you get thief abilities? Like now you have like 7.
That
different
one
classes
was
at
that one
point.
was for a certain ability.
But
I
I'm just
remember
saying, like that was the
No, I
issue
know.
behind it. Because when it came down to it, you had the most spread out skills because you were doing whatever you wanted.
'Cause I was having
While the rest of
fun.
us were kind of steering. Like I said, Natalie had all fire. She
I
just
was
went all
enjoying the game, and then we went to the designated builds, and I was like, I am not enjoying the game.
Yep.
Anyway, though, so yeah, in the current state of MMOs, Elder Scrolls is the one that I think the most of us are playing more.
20 minutes in, we get to the proper topic.
Well, no, let's do it. Well, I
No,
said
oh
there
my
was going
god.
to be
I
two.
think
I said there was
it's
going to
been
be two.
25 to 30 minutes by now. I
20.
think.
Well,
20?
no.
Okay, 20.
Anyway, the discussion is basically that Elder Scrolls Online gives you. So when you first start Elder Scrolls Online, you aren't really given that much of a general direction. You're given a main quest, but they don't tell you like crafting. They don't tell you how skills work. They don't
That's
tell
all you see, it's
Builds.
just
They don't
quests.
tell you anything.
Hell,
from
I'm
what-
pretty sure you got to like level 40 before you even realized crafting was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I entered champion points. So in Elder Scrolls Online, they have a Paragon system where once you cap out, you just get more points to put into skills. I was in that before realizing crafting was as in depth as it is.
So it's like a merit system, just like in Final Fantasy
it is.
11. Okay.
But the issue with now, for the record, there's two problems here. One, and this is an issue I have with Pokemon of all games.
Which Pokemon?
The
Pokemon
latest
Go?
one. The tutorial is too much.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I
Pokemon Sun and
couldn't-
Moon. Okay.
Yeah, that's the
Saying
whole
the
reason why
latest
I
one
couldn't.
means so many different things.
Because
with Pokemon.
Elder Scrolls Online does technically explain everything, but
Mm-hmm.
with giant text dialogue boxes of here's how things work.
As opposed to, like you just said, Pokemon, where it's like, okay, now you have to do 4 hours of forced tutorials.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I will agree. This was the one generation that I did not play much because I played for about 2 hours and I was still doing tutorials. And I was like, I'm done with this.
I played
this
for
is
5
not worth
hours
it.
and I put it down.
Yeah.
I wasn't even out of the tutorial. I was
Actually
just
went
like, I'm
back to
done.
I never
yeah.
beat the tutorial either. Yeah.
I never beat it either. Yeah, it was just like, all right, guys, it's been 6 hours now. Just stop holding my hand, please. I know what I'm
And
doing.
there was no option to go,
no, there
let me
wasn't.
play.
No.
I've
yeah.
played before.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Well-
how to throw a Pokeball and damage a Pokemon prior to doing so to increase my chances
There was some
to
other
catch
stuff
it.
that they added though to the game, but
But
at that point,
stuff could
yeah.
like you need it, but for catching a Pokemon, let me just say,
don't.
oh yes, I am an experienced Pokemon master. Cool.
yep.
This isn't
Go
a
for
Pokemon
it.
topic, though. Can I move on to where I was going with this real quick?
Yeah, but you started the tangent. Therefore, we have
Yeah,
to
you did.
finish the tangent.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, I actually liked that about Elder Scrolls, and I liked that about a Divinity 2, because that reminds me of old school games
No.
where
Yeah.
you did have to. Final Fantasy 11, the game that you and I met, they told you nothing. You logged
Exactly.
in, you
Well,
said,
but still though, when you walk in the ESO, all you see is just quests like everywhere to level you up. In 11, you had to put a party together, and they weren't telling you like if in order to level up, there were no quests at all. You had to go out there and grind XP. There was nobody to hold your hand, no one to give you
that's
quests.
what I think we all miss. Dan misses Vanilla WoW.
But in ESO though, that's all you see, quests.
Oh,
You
the
can-
game is quest based.
I know, but that's what I mean though. It's completely
Well,
Well,
that's
that's
different.
just games in
So
general.
that's what I'm talking about.
unfortunately,
That's
yeah.
what the MMO topic is. The current state of today's MMO and what we don't like.
Oh, I
about
hate it. I hate
Like,
everything
I still
about
love
it.
my MMOs. You love your MMOs.
I
No,
think-
not really. I can't. It doesn't have my attention like it used to. Like I can play them for like maybe 2 to 3 hours and I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm
That's
done.
very true.
My I think the biggest problem with MMOs right now that creates the biggest diversity in it is new MMO players and veteran MMO players.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. You're right.
Because MMOs nowadays, they have to take the guess of, okay, which user base are we aiming for right now? Are we
Mm-hmm.
looking for the people that played Final Fantasy XI, the original Ragnarok Online,
And those people have
like
a family,
stuff like
Ultima
that,
Online.
they have a job
Ultima
now.
Online,
yeah.
EverQuest, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or are we talking about the people that played World of Warcraft when Wrath of the Lich King came out? Because I say Wrath of the Lich King.
That was the
'cause-
beginning of what we're at now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the start of where we are. And I think that's the biggest problem with MMOs is it's such I hate to say it, it's a dying market.
It is.
And-
it's all about the
Because
money.
the
at
market,
this
the
point.
market used to be the people who wanted to devote 6-7 hours a night to a game.
They don't have
the
and
time
you wanted
for
to
it.
see significant progress.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't devote that time, you just didn't play the game.
It was just like
Exactly.
a second job.
And now it's them going, okay, we're going to make it so that you can play for 15 minutes and feel like you accomplished something. And
Yeah.
some people
Or
look
the
at
problem
that.
I have with Final Fantasy 14, and if you can't accomplish the high end content right now, don't worry. In
it a month.
6 months, everyone's gonna have the gear.
Not
Yep.
even
All you
that.
gotta do is wait.
Yeah.
Not even that. It's 3 months now.
Well, 3 months and you'll
Every
get one set of
patch.
gear that matches it if
Yeah.
you've been playing.
Yeah.
And then 6 months, that gear is easy to obtain.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it definitely makes the direction definitely has gotten to you feel less special when you have
Well,
things.
yeah.
And that was always the thing that a lot of people loved about MMOs was World of Warcraft. If you got your tier 1 full set, regardless of if it was your best gear, you wore that because
Yeah.
you were proud of what you
Yeah.
had.
I
You
agree.
wanted to show it off.
Yep.
And
Like-
Final Fantasy 11, that was salvage for us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same
Like,
thing.
I mean, you
Or-
guys
or a
met
relic
because
weapon.
you liked his armor.
The plastron,
But
yeah, you're right. And
nowadays-
his sword from like the big H&M that was like the
Exactly.
big monster that required
'Cause
like
it-
24
Yeah,
people.
but like nowadays, it's like, oh, okay, I'm in a town. All these people are max level, and 60% of them have that armor.
or
and
these
you're like,
people
well, it's
have
just
gotten
not-
the armor from like the mock station that you can just
Yes.
pay for or
Oh,
Oh
something
yeah,
like
the pay
that.
shop's
Yeah.
putting the coolest armor out in World of Warcraft, in ESO, in Final Fantasy. They're all doing that.
Yeah.
What I think it is
Terra.
It all comes down to what
Blade
makes
and
the most
Soul.
money. Like that's it.
Yeah.
They don't even care about
There's no
the players
achievement
that. Well,
No.
no.
like the
I
reason we're having
shouldn't
this
say
discussion
that.
is
Yeah.
we just officially called it quits on our raid group in Final Fantasy 14.
And it's sad too because
We were having fun.
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
was just
once the progress was made and it was just a repetition of like the same thing every week, no one was looking forward to it.
Well,
and
the problem
plus
we
we
ran
had
into
even
is-
reached the point where everyone had like alternate gear for
Yes.
every single alternate class they
Yeah.
played.
Yeah, and that's
It-
the thing
it-
too. Like if they hadn't gotten if we weren't earning tokens every. I'm sorry. Did you want to say
No,
something?
you're fine.
No,
You're
it's,
fine.
I just I find it funny because Benny always likes interrupting
know,
everyone,
I
and
know.
both of us are just shutting him down,
Yeah,
and
I'm
you
so
can see
sorry
his
about
face
that.
from over here. Like you were saying earlier when I wanted to interrupt you, Benny's over there like, come on, let me say something.
No,
Sorry.
because I have a point to go on what you attack on what you're saying, but it's not that important.
Easy
So then
fix,
you guys
though.
start up another point, and I get a point for that one, but then like
Honestly, easy fix though for that is to not give us an like automatic token every week and just let us run the content until we get the piece of gear that we need, and that's
Yeah.
it. And then we're just gonna keep running it until we get it. That's more of an accomplishment than just getting a token every week. And just once you have the gear, you don't have to show up anymore.
Or
that's it.
another thing that I like and I hate like what you're saying when it's yes, it's a rare drop, but do it 7 weeks in a row and you'll buy it.
Yeah, I'm not okay
I don't
with
even
that.
like that. I honestly don't.
I don't like it either.
It came from
Like,
WoW, right? That's
WoW
what it came
started
from.
the token system.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
WoW started the token system in a more unique way where it was, instead of just being here is one, like a specific piece, it was here's a token for a specific like slot of armor
Yeah.
for 3 classes. So at least
Oh,
it was
okay, that's-
you had to hope that your class
Yeah.
piece dropped. It was the proper slot and
See,
that
that's
you won
even
the
better.
piece instead
Yeah.
of where it went to some game like I don't know if World of Warcraft does it now, but where it's just here is a generic thing. Once you have a certain amount, you can buy any piece
Anything.
you needed
Yep.
from any of those different slots and just
Yep.
fill in what you need. And it
Yep.
kind of just created well, where's the fun? Where's the excitement of getting
That's
the
exactly
piece you
it.
wanted? I remember in Burning Crusade during Mount
just hope-
Hydril,
yeah.
Well, that's the problem right there. I do need to talk
my
about
tier
that.
6 gloves
'cause-
on my shaman. I was so happy about that because not many people had them. It was my only piece of the tier 6 set, but they were so cool that I would always go, guys, look at my gloves.
Yeah. Well, so that's the problem right there because I think MMOs were MMOs used to only really be for the hardcore people who are going to do that.
Yes.
And I think with the gaming market, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the gaming market is all about your instant gratification for
Yeah,
everything
no
you've
kidding,
done.
Ben. No
Yes.
kidding.
On Xbox, we get achievements if
Yeah.
you just run for a certain amount of distance. And on PlayStation, I got a trophy last night because I jumped super far on a motorcycle.
Yeah, you know, like, listen,
and if I open
that's
up,
hard to accomplish, all right? You're
and
talking
then,
about
in
the crew.
Overwatch, you get a legendary, and it's all
Yeah.
sparkly and awesome, and
Yes.
it's flashy.
Yeah.
And when you level up, it's like doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
See, actually, quick note on what you were saying with Overwatch. The one thing I do like that they do is they are limited stuff where it's like there is the if they have a Halloween event, if you don't get the skin during that event, you have to wait until the next Halloween event. So at least it gives you a year of having a unique skin that
Yep.
people will look at and go, oh,
Yeah,
I wish I
would've
had
been there." Yep.
Junkenstein. Like,
Yeah.
I can't
But-
believe I missed that.
But what I'm saying is, I think it was WoW that kind of kicked it off.
Mm-hmm.
But they figured out that the more times they reward the casual player, the more often that casual player is going to stay
Well, of
because they
course.
feel like they've accomplished something.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what the problem we've now run into is games like Final Fantasy XIV, where they don't want to have that ultimate tier that no one can achieve because they want everyone to feel like they've accomplished everything there is in the game and that their sub is worth something.
Yeah.
And if you just keep playing, you'll catch up to everyone. Don't worry.
Because if I remember right, the statistics show that like in World of Warcraft and in Final Fantasy 14, it's like only
5%?
like
Yeah.
5% of the players,
I thought it was lower, but yeah, it's pretty low.
around
4 to
5%,
and that's
play
why-
that
yeah.
hardcore stuff. And that's the sad thing. That's the reason why it's going in that direction is because you get those hardcore players that want to do that. And yes, they'll be a part of that 5%, but maybe they'll want to bring in their friends and they want to make sure that the game's casual enough for their friends. So
Yeah.
it kind of deteriorates from the other people. Like I'm wondering when the MMOs are going to truly.
Well, that's where I think we are now,
Dissipate.
in all honesty.
I think we're starting to
I think,
hit
yeah,
that
I
point.
think
That we're
Yeah,
hitting a
definitely.
point where the Trinity. So in MMOs, it's always been about teamwork and accomplishing that big goal. The reason why your gloves felt amazing is you worked with a group for them. You had a tank, you had a
Yes.
healer, you were a rogue.
We had what was it? 25? I think it was 25 people for that raid.
Yeah, and
what I
everyone
mean,
came
yeah,
together for
yeah.
this common goal. In Final
Sometimes
Fantasy
it'd be
11,
48.
We would have 40 or 8
And
or 12,
we were
depending on
the
what we were
leaders
doing.
too, so like being in charge of 48 people that were like literally every 2 to 3 days showing up, ready to go, like
Like
5
you were
minutes
big enough that you
beforehand.
had like the raid leader, the
Yeah.
assisted raid
Yes,
leader,
that's exactly
class
it. Yep,
officers,
yeah,
Yeah.
role
yeah.
officer.
Yeah.
Like you had people
Yeah.
because there was so much to do. Now it's just, okay, watch this YouTube video. We know the fight, get in. we
Because
win.
it was
And the-
important because we were also working on like a DKP system where when you would show up you would get points, and then once your drop would happen you would spend those points in order to get your piece, and that's what kept people showing up. And
Yep.
now there's just no point in doing that
Or
because
like you would
well,
have,
you can bug
we had
everybody.
like loot council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
where
well,
it
the
was
problem we'd run into, the problem that all these games run into is when they allowed you to, first off, they started to go downhill when they allowed you to transfer servers. Because in Final
That's
Fantasy
true.
11, the
Oh my
reason
God,
why
it was
nobody
all
would
about
just roll on
reputation.
gear and run,
Yeah.
because then your name was tarnished across
And
the
then you'd
entire
go to-
server
yeah.
and no one would take you.
And you'd also go on the forums, and people would be like, "All right, well, this specific person transferred with this specific person. What can you tell me about them? Like, are they good? Can I recruit
There
them?"
was reputation.
Yeah, yeah.
WoW had the same thing. Like, you couldn't just run off and fuck over a group because the entire group would then be against you, and the whole server would then be against
Oh
you.
Yeah.
yeah, you're.
But
you're
now
in a
you just
big enough
change names,
guild.
change servers,
Yeah,
change
change it,
race,
yeah.
and no one knows it's you.
It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
On top of that, the second downfall, in my opinion, was when they started allowing the casual player to enter every piece of content. I'm not gonna lie, when Cataclysm hit and there was looking for raid,
Oh my God,
I
that
stopped
expansion
raiding
was so
Yeah.
fun.
because
dude.
I didn't need to.
Yeah.
I could go into looking for raid, get less impressive looking gear, but I could see the entire story and I could do it on my schedule as opposed to waiting around. That was when I pretty much stopped heavy raiding and gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happened to me in Final Fantasy XIV. When we first had Binding Coil of Bahamut, I was on board, we were raiding in that, and when they started releasing each tier and showing that your gear wasn't going to matter, why raid?
But in their defense, though, they only had because the what is it the hardcore players were so few. They only had like 4 to 5 people working on that super hard content because the rest was just casual. So they had the whole team working on casual content,
Yeah.
and that very small team of people working for the hardcore players.
Yeah.
And it's still at that point today because 14 is just full of casual players.
Yeah, because I feel like WoW hit its stride. Majority of people always say Wrath of the Lich King. I think it was Burning Crusade because it had a great variety. If you there were 10-man raids and there were 25-man raids. There were specific stuff, like you guys were saying, there were different tiers that throughout the entire game, even at the end of the expansion, some guilds would still be running, what was it? I think it was tier 4. Yeah, it was tier 4 content where there was a couple 10-man parts and there were a couple 25-man parts. And then there was the tier 5 and tier 6. And throughout the entire expansion, there were guilds that would still do that lower stuff and feel like they were accomplishing something. And you really felt like when I was in the tier 6 content that I was like, I've earned this. I reached this. I worked my butt off to get to this point. I got good so that I could be in a good group.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now they're basically just going, hey, free gear, catch up, go in there. Like Mists of Pandaria, they added in the Timeless Isle where you literally would go there, run around, open chests. You've got better gear than the majority of the raids.
Yeah.
Ben
And then
made
you
me
no
do
longer
that.
even have to do the old
Yeah.
raids.
Yeah, yeah. And I know how annoying that must be to you.
It was always just frustrating. And like you guys were saying with 14 of the current thing, you don't get to feel special for long.
No.
No.
And that's the worst part. Like the reason why we officially disbanded the group right now is like the only reason we need to do this is for like super, super, super high end.
Yeah, or
But
when
it
the
doesn't even
new
matter at this
or
point.
when the new content drops and we just want to have some quick fun together, and we just pull the group together for to clear the content real quick. But even then, it's not gonna last more than like a week, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you feel about? Because that's kind of how I feel. WoW is like it feels like MMOs have moved in the direction of if you want to be there all the time, you're welcome to, but you can treat it like a DLC kind of thing now. Final Fantasy 14 today came out with a new dungeon that we can all go run and have fun with.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks we'll be done with it, and we'll be
Oh,
just
yeah.
waiting around for the next bit of content to come out. How do you feel about that? Do you? Because here's the other thing. There's one, it was much to be complain and bitch and moan that we want the old style of MMO back.
We just don't have the time to put
That's
into it.
Exactly.
It's
because
almost
we-
like MMOs have aged with its core audience when
yeah.
they were
No,
first.
Oh, it
absolutely.
has.
We-
Because like some people, like you were saying, now have families that may have played World of Warcraft back in 2006.
Yep.
And now it's 12 years. Oh wait, didn't it come out in 2004?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean it's been 14 years. A lot can happen in 14
Oh,
years.
yeah.
And like there are definitely people that have been there that entire time that can't put in the hardcore hours that need it to be more casual. And that brings us circles us around to the games have to decide, are we going to do casual or are we doing hardcore?
Yeah.
And the problem is you do hardcore, you're going to lose your casual players. You do too casual, you're going to lose your hardcore players.
There's no happy middle ground,
No,
and
there
what I hate
isn't.
to say is the players
The
like us who
casuals
have the
will always
time and
win.
want to
Yeah.
do some crazy and high-end content.
Yeah.
We're the minority.
We're a huge minority.
Yeah.
Because gaming has now gotten to the point where you can have 10, like remember back in the day when WoW crossed 10 million active users and that was
yeah.
a big deal?
It's huge.
And now we hear about that like every other day.
Yeah.
Like no, that's not even a big deal anymore. Final Fantasy 14 promoted like 12 million viewers,
Yeah.
and like I think ESO is promoting like 20 million, and I'm just like, what is it? What do you guys even count anymore?
Yeah. It's
Yep.
yeah.
And that's funny too because we've contemplated going back because there are some people that still have that vanilla server that everyone's looking for, but we just don't have the time for it.
Yeah,
we just
exactly.
And that right there is a
Yeah, that
funny
brings
thing.
up another one too. Is we want it, but I mean, if it came out right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
I wouldn't
We
get,
just-
be
yeah.
able to play it.
Yeah.
No.
We'd be
But I
happy,
want
but
it.
we just wouldn't be able to be on it as
Exactly.
much as we'd like to. And
Now,
this just defeats the
I want
purpose.
to end this discussion with a question here. There's a couple of questions. What is your core reason that you think that MMOs have gone this route? Is it part of the changing market? Is it a part of the because one thing that a lot of people don't consider, this is what I want to bring up, is competition. So back when Vanilla WoW was a thing and
yeah.
Final
It was
Fantasy
like the
11 was
only
a
thing.
we would get like 2 games that were worth it a month.
Well, it was all about World of Warcraft against Final Fantasy 11. That was always the two big
but I'm
dogs
saying not
right
even
there.
just in the MMO
now there are
market.
so many. Yeah, now there's just
Not
so
even just MMOs though. Games in general.
in general.
Yeah,
Right now we are playing Final
Like, I'm
Fantasy
playing-
14 ESO.
Yeah, because I'm like sacrificing my Final Fantasy 14 time to play some Hyrule Warriors.
Right.
I'm playing Event Horizon done. A couple of us are playing.
Yeah, I guess
the Crew 2.
yeah.
We still hop on to Rainbow Six Siege, Wildlands, those other games.
But all these titles were still existing back in the day, though. At the same time as
But they
those
didn't come out as
MMOs.
frequently as mine.
Yeah.
Not as frequently. You're right. Yeah.
You wouldn't have a month where you're like, crap, I have 7 games to get through,
It's
and I
true.
have a job, so I have to pick one.
And it back in the day, it would mostly be Call of Duty during the winter, and that's pretty much it.
No, not even back in the day. 2002, 2003, when Final Fantasy 11 was a thing, and 2004 when WoW was a thing, Call of Duty was not a yearly thing. Yearly releases weren't even a thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't even
Was
a
it
thing.
was it
back
that
then.
long ago?
Yeah.
Holy crap. And yeah, in that case, they're definitely just
I
competition.
remember playing Final Fantasy 11 on my PlayStation 2 with a hard drive.
I remember.
And Resident Evil Outbreak came out, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is gonna be the greatest thing ever!" It
And
was
you-
the worst
and
thing
you-
ever, but
and you never touched it. Oh, I know that you were trying to play Assassin's Creed 2 at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that what is ruining the MMO market is people in this day and age have short attention
It's so
spans.
it's so
do.
true. Yeah, this
because
is it right here.
every game
Yeah.
nowadays tries to shorten the game length.
Yep.
Overwatch. Majority of the time, you can say, I'm going to play an Overwatch game, and you know it's going to be 15 minutes or less.
Yes.
You know, and that's what makes you get in. Like, League of Legends has even worked towards that. You used to be able to get matches that can last an hour. Like, sometimes even like an hour and a half. That was kind of a stretch, but like an hour was a potential amount of time. Yes, now like you still occasionally get those games, but the majority of them end in 30 minutes or less because everyone's going, we know people have a short attention span and we want to make sure that they're going to want to play a game, feel happy about it, and then play another, or feel okay to play a game, go do something else. And
What happened to us last night?
Because
Last night we had that guy. We queued into a random dungeon in
yeah.
ESO. The dungeon was at max
in
20,
ESO.
25 minutes. We
Yeah.
said at the beginning that we are new or learning this dungeon because we'd never gotten that dungeon before.
Yeah.
And the other dude in there kept trying to skip content, run
This
as
is
fast
so
as
funny
he could.
because it's in any game too. And
yeah,
the ESO
and he was trying to speed
14,
through the content
yeah.
as quickly as he could.
Or
Yeah.
even Heroes of the Storm when people just try to rush, like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
just rush the
like-
boss right away.
Oh, let's do
And
one
if
lanes. We
someone-
can rush the boss.
Yeah, and
people
it's-
just want that
yeah.
reward.
Yeah.
They want the reward quickly, and they want to feel, and that's why MMOs are losing it, is because it requires you to put in X amount of hours to level up to max level, X amount to get your gear, X amount to do this, to do this, to do this. Now you're ready. Whereas games like Overwatch, like you said, does that quick stuff. I mean,
hell, if you want to hear people complain about having to put time and effort into an MMO, just go to Eureka in Final Fantasy 14.
Oh yeah,
That's all they bitch
it was
about.
Like the first thing that was going to be grindy in Final
Yes.
Fantasy 14, and while a subset of the community loved it, there was a huge outcry of, well, I don't want to spend. Was it somebody? The complaints where they got in and within 2 hours had not
yeah.
gotten a reward.
Yeah.
That was the core of the. I've been here 2 hours and I feel like I've made no progress.
Yeah,
Like,
and that is
you're
all you
leveling.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is all you see when you go to Eureka, and you're like, why are you even playing, dude? This is the only content in the game right now that requires you to grind and just stay there. And hell, you can do something else at the same time. Just play a game or just read a book. I don't know, something.
Yeah.
But no, they just want to complain about it. Then don't play, dude.
and then they get into the short attention span of,
Yeah.
you're not actually doing it. You just go, here's a fate that we know is going to spawn. We're
Yeah.
going to stand there till it spawns, kill it,
Yes.
go to another one.
Yeah.
And they complain about that.
And it's ridiculous.
So closing statements.
but yes.
Closing
do you
statements.
guys feel that we're coming to the end of an era, the end of the MMO?
Yeah, unfortunately,
Sadly.
yes.
The MMO as we know it, as
Yeah.
it moves more towards
yeah.
like
MMOs are transforming into battle royales.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say battle royales, but I would say they're transforming into things kind of like Monster Hunter and Rainbow, the live
They're-
service.
Yeah,
That's where I think they're going. They're going towards a live service where it's like, here's your content. This will keep you interested for 2 weeks. We'll see you again in a few months. Here's some cosmetics to go buy.
Yeah, either that or the games where it's like you can have your solo experience, your own game, but we've got a huge online thing like Monster Hunter where if I wanted to play, I could go do it by myself. But
Yeah.
it's got the MMO aspect of I can also say, hey guys, I'm looking for a group, and people join me, and I've
Yeah.
got 4 random people with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
about you,
Honestly,
Natalie?
I'm not even mad though, because all the people that we met and understand because they've either put equal amount of time into MMOs and just know what like working for your gear means, like Dan. And we have all these people around still nowadays, like Sean that came from 11, Francis, and all of them. We're still together, and we're still going to be playing those games, like, you know, like just random games together. So knowing that I've got these people with me right now makes me happy because at least something good came out of it. Even though the era is ended.
I feel bad for people that don't get that experience though.
Seriously,
because
yeah.
you
They don't
create
get to
a
make
bond.
those long-lasting
Yeah, no, they
friends because
don't.
we
Yeah.
we fought dragons together.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we
We
have
saved
though.
towns.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
And-
fought a giant worm.
we did whatever the hell it is in the end we did in Destiny, but we did it together.
We fought, yeah.
We hated Destiny together.
All right, guys, if
Yeah.
you guys enjoyed this discussion, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about the current state of MMOs? Do you miss the old school? Do you like the new casual format that they're all going with? Don't forget, you can follow Natalie at Zodical Candy on Twitter. You can follow Dan at DNT Editor on Twitter. You can follow me at Comic Story. And together, we enter the Eligible Monster account. And you can also subscribe to the channel to keep up to date. We'll see you next week here on the EMP. And we'll see you next time on whatever content you end up watching. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
Thank you guys.
Bye.